Welcome, everybody, to the webinar on AI college essays and college admissions. I'm going to be letting everybody in right now, and we'll go from there. So just wait a few minutes, and I'll get everybody into the room. We actually had more registrants than spots today. So whoever is here, great job on getting in sooner rather than later. We are going to have a full house tonight, so very excited. I'm also going to be really concise in my presentation today. I know how sometimes watching a webinar and having it go too long can be a lot. So I'll actually be very concise in my explanations of everything and discussions. And then I will be open to live Q&A at the end. Also, I'll be including the supplemental essay guide that I shared online about. My team got it finished. We are still in edit mode, so just keep that in mind. We're still working on it, but I wanted to at least give you a draft of the document that we're working on. I'm going to wait 1 or 2 more minutes before we get started. And before we jump in, I would love to have you guys share what grade your student is in. So if you can share what grade your child is in and where you're located, that'll be really helpful just because I want to make sure that I'm customizing this to you and what you need. This is a live class. This is not recorded. This is not an AI bot. This is Neha live. So just to let you know, I haven't done one of these in over a year. So I'm very pumped to be here tonight with you guys. I hope everyone is staying warm in the situation that we're all in, which is frigid cold. But what a perfect night to come and have a wonderful time and learn about college admissions. Since most of us I can't be on the road right now, so it's kind of perfect. All right, so what I'm going to go ahead and do is share my screen with my slides here. And this is actually a presentation I did to a very amazing organization specifically. And I'm going to share it with you guys as well, because I think this is very important information that not a lot of people are talking about specifically in the admissions process. I think there's a lot of conversation around, college applications and don't ever use AI, don't utilize this. There's schools that feel this is not a tool we should be using. But I think, as we all know, it's going to be inevitable and it's important to talk through it. So today I'm going to be talking about college shortcuts and AI and how do we utilize it. I think one thing most people don't know is that, I'm the founder of an ed tech company. I've been doing this for over 17 years. I've watched the college admissions process completely change in the last few years, from the college admissions scandal to the affirmative action turnover, from the Harvard Asian American case. I am in this 7 days a week, eating, breathing, sleeping this topic. And so I get to work with incredible families and help them to really navigate their child's process. So first things first, a little bit about myself and what we do. So I have the honor of getting to work with students and help them to find their passion in life. It's extremely important to me. I don't know if you know, but 80% of Americans hate their jobs. We saw a huge movement in something called quiet quitting. We're seeing it in the millennials and lower in terms of all the next generations that say, I want to love what I'm doing and I want to enjoy it. And I want to make impact and make a difference. And I'm no different than that. I also believe that there's a power in finding what I call your ikigai, which is your passion, your what you can get paid for, what you're interested in, and what you love. And so my opinion is that I get to, through my mentorship program, really assist with building their passion. I also help students to build life skills, such as right now I'm working on writing skills in my group mentorship program. We've worked on how to pitch yourself, how to sell, how to handle interpersonal relationship and communication. So I also help students with the skills that I don't really feel schools are fully teaching outside of school, and then succeed in the competitive college application landscape. As we know, admissions rates are plummeting. They're going to continue to plummet. It's getting more and more challenging to get into these top schools more than ever before, while tuition has doubled in the last 10 years. So we know families are investing a lot in the college. Why not create a probability that's increased for them to get into the college that they really want to go to, that you're going to be paying for? So from our perspective, we find it so important for students to really understand how to pitch themselves. Shreyas has a great question. Neha, is all your programs online or do you have in-person? So great question. This is actually a photo of an in-person event I had done last year, but we have found that online and one-on-one is the most effective strategy for us. So actually all of our services are all through Zoom online. And if you find me entertaining and interesting, you'll find my team interesting and entertaining. We make sure to hire people that are not only qualified experts in the field, but they're loving, kind, caring, and they make this process really fun for our students. So yes, it is mostly online. In terms of mentorship, we do guidance counseling on academic class selection, extracurriculars, soft skills training, building research papers and getting them published. We also do career guidance counseling, summer activities. Right now, all my students are applying, helping students to find their passion. And if you haven't watched my TEDx, I also have a program on teaching teenagers how to do TEDx's, as there are programs for teenagers to also speak. And then when they come into that 11th grade where they've blossomed all the way up through high school, 11th and 12th grade is where we do the application process. And that's where we do building the school list, the activity list, which is only 150 characters per activity list, building the resume that gets attached, the unique angle assessment, figuring out what it is that makes your child different out of the 60 to 80,000 students applying. And then the big enchilada part of it, or the big part is the essay process. So brainstorming, outlining, drafting, editing, and submitting. So today I'm going to talk to you about the shortcuts we use, and I'm going to show you exactly what we do. I'm going to show you how we edit things because I think it's important to know in the essay process. And I'm also going to give you the supplemental internal essay document as well that's been updated for this last year's essays, because I think it's important to know what's going on from an essay perspective and what you need to do to ensure that you're understanding how complicated this process can be. But where we come in is we make it a lot easier. So let's jump right in. There are expert ways to leverage AI. AI tools such as ChatGPT, Bing Chat, Claude AI. Right now, there are some schools that are just banning AI. They're like, no more AI. We don't need it. Guys, we can't ban a tool that's obviously inevitably going to be here. Currently in college admissions, though, if you use AI to fully write your essays, it is considered cheating. And the institutions do have, and they have invested hundreds of thousands of dollars to figure out and run essays through an AI detector. So keep that in mind. But we have found ways to use AI to assist in brainstorming and outline to cut that time down by 80%. I'll tell you a great example. I had a group of students just now in my group mentorship. We're actually teaching a little bit on writing skills, and they were getting stumped on even how to create a unique angle, how to write. And we're already starting to work with them on essay writing and how to do it properly. So we've also found ways to use AI to assist in building and executing on mentorship plans as well. So we've actually found it to be a really powerful tool that's helpful. So what I want to go over, of course, are some of the top colleges in the US, which many of you already know, but a lot of these colleges have some pretty complicated essay prompts. University of Chicago being one of the hardest when it comes to application prompts. So I want to show you, sorry, we're having so many families join in, so I have to switch buttons. So if you hear funny noise, that's what that is. But I want to go ahead and share some of the example essay prompts that you get. Describe a challenge you've overcome. How has this shaped who you are today? Reflect on a time you've experienced failure. How did it affect you and what lessons did you learn? What is your greatest accomplishment? What is a problem you'd like to solve? How has your family background, culture, or community shaped your perspective and aspirations? This one is considered the identity essay. We saw that laid on every application post affirmative action so that students could share about their diverse backgrounds. What part of the college application, what aspects of college are you applying to and most excited about, and why? What extracurricular activities or work experiences have been most meaningful to you and shaped you? So as you can see, tons of different topics that need to be written about. Here's some more example. Write a personal statement describing your achievements, describe an event where you took a leadership role. So as you can see, some of them are the same, some of them are different. Some of them are, for example, questions like, what brings you joy? What is a new skill you'd like to learn? Things like, what is a soundtrack song of your life and why? What are the top 5 books you like to read? These are a lot of questions. And honestly, for the last 15 years, I think there's 2 things I've seen. One is essay prompt numbers have increased. On average, each college has 3 to 8 different essay prompts. And then writing skill of students has gone down. And I have talked with, I actually went to my middle school alumni event thinking I was still young and realized everyone was in there that had just graduated middle school. I was the oldest person in the room, but I went up to my grammar teacher who was still there, my sixth grade grammar teacher, who to this day, I think really impacted my writing skills and grammar skills because I grew up in a house where English was not the first language. And it was hard. You know, my dad went to IIT. He was a smart guy, but at the same time, editing my essays, understanding emotional writing, not his skill set as an engineer. And so my grammar teachers were there and my English teachers were there and they helped me. And one of the things I shared with them was, why does no student know grammar anymore? What's happening? Where's the comma? And she shared with me, Neha, ever since social media, no student knows how to write, and they're not expected to. They don't know what to do. They write pretty flat in their papers and they call it a day. And so from my perspective, I think that's very sad because writing is one of the most important skills you will have in business. It'll be important later on in life and how you communicate your thoughts and messages. And I really believe that knowing how to pitch yourself is going to be a very important human aspect of who you are. And writing and speaking are some of the most important parts of that. So the admissions process, as you can see, asks introspective questions. You know, long gone are the days where you can say, well, my dad's an engineer, so I should be an engineer at MIT. Those are the types of things that are okay, maybe overseas, or back in the day when you applied in India, for example. But in the US, they really want to get to know who you are, what you stand for, what is your message, and what are you going to do on campus. And so the essays is where they look for that. So I want to talk about using ChatGPT. So ChatGPT is, if you have not used it, or if you haven't heard of it, I'm a little concerned. But ChatGPT is created by OpenAI. It is a AI tool that answers questions and helps you to reword things, redraft things, and do all sorts of things, to be clear. Here's an example of how it can be used. Hi, my name is Ashley, and I'm in 11th grade. I want to get some great brainstorming topics and ideas on how to write an essay to an admissions officer at an Ivy League institution on what my favorite extracurricular activity is. What are your tips? And so we use ChatGPT, and I will tell you the number one most important thing when it comes to ChatGPT is what? Go ahead and type it in the chat. What do you think is the most important part of when you're using this tool in terms of when you're putting something and trying to get an answer? What is the most important part? Lovenish said context. Awesome. Anybody else? Classroom participation, guys. We love it. That way I know you guys are here. All right, so context, the prompt, defining, thank you, Rajiv, beautiful. Defining the question properly. Shweta, organizing my thoughts. Prompts, Rajan said, Urj said, word choice, correct, correct. All of my smart parents that have smart kids that are in the room. Woohoo, Ivania. Giving as much detail as possible. Ashwini, grammar. Yes. Okay. So lots of different things here. And yes, the most important thing is, how do you pick your words? Giving the right details, organizing your thoughts properly ahead of time, what you're doing, and Rajiv's answer, defining the question properly. And you'll see as I go through how if you don't define it right, it doesn't turn out very well. So here it says, hey, actually, writing an essay is an excellent opportunity to showcase your personality, passion, and commitment. Here are some brainstorming ideas. And it walks through, choose the right activity, identify the impact, and tell a story. So brainstorming with ChatGPT is actually very powerful. And it keeps going. Highlight your passion, showcase leadership, connect with academic goals, demonstrate values and character, avoid cliches, be honest and transparent. So I would say ChatGPT's advice from a brainstorming perspective is very helpful. And it even goes through and talks about, here's some potential topics for it. Being part of it has shaped your leadership skills, a significant event of an activity, and how it challenged you, how it brought community around you. And it talks about like, hey, remember to bring insights into who your character is, your unique voice. So this is very broad information, to be very clear, but it is still very powerful in terms of giving some helpful tips to a student. So moving forward, can you provide an outline for an essay I'm writing to an Ivy League admissions officer about this extracurricular activity. So the student wrote an example. I worked as a political cartoonist and a campaign intern for Jerry Connolly in Congress. I did design artist. I did the congressional art competition. I draft emails, blah, 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 blah. So ChatGPT can be very helpful in providing an outline. It can say, here's your introduction, talk about your passion and motivation and what you did, talk about the responsibility and the learning and growth. Again, very broad information, but can help to cut down time in terms of staring at a blank cursor. And conclusion as well, how to talk about it. Remember to use specific examples, anecdotes, personal experiences, showcase your unique personality, etc. Okay, here's where sometimes, as we all know, kids sometimes test boundaries. If anyone's ever experienced their boundaries being tested with their kids, type in yes in the chat, right? Boundaries are there. And in AI, unfortunately, the boundaries aren't always there. And so here the student says, please write the 250-word essay for me. And they go, certainly, Ashley, I'd love to write this essay for you. And then look at what it writes. As a fervent enthusiast of politics and a budding artist, blah, 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 blah. Nothing short of a dream come true. I'm going to read the parts that make it very obvious that it's either AI or not written by a teenager. With a passion for both creativity and civic engagement, it allowed me to bridge my interests and make a tangible impact on the political landscape. This sentence is the most fluffy sentence, and you only have 250 words. Get to the point and be clear. Maybe give a specific example. Throughout my internship, I eagerly took on a diverse range of responsibilities. Again, you basically wasted about 20 words here in this essay. From drafting, and now we're finally getting somewhere. From drafting persuasive emails to crafting succinct press summaries, I witnessed firsthand the power of effective communication and driving message. Okay, well, still not clear on like why you're interested in it. Like we all know that writing is effective. You don't need to tell us that. So the graphic design, she kind of gets into it. So it's not a good essay. You may read it and you may think it's a good essay, but I will tell you as someone who reads, and our team reads thousands of essays every year, this is what we call a blah essay. It's fluffy. It doesn't really go clear to what the point is. Yes, or essay has to be short, clear, straight to the point, no fluff. Correct. It also could have gone into something more interesting, like what was an actual moment or experience that the student had with this congressman, or what was the specific thing they did, or what was the passion behind it. Here, it's very fluffy. So ChatGPT, not so good at writing. It's also not very great at explaining how to effectively write an essay if it was going to give an example. And then let's show you. If we run it through some AI detectors that are free, it shows 75% probability, student is auto-rejected. Here's an example of what we do, just to give you a sense. When a student writes an essay, we go in there line by line and hand edit. This is just an example. This is not a full finished draft of an essay of any sort, but you'll see we go through every single line by line to help students, and this is hand done. We do not use AI in the editing process. So let's talk about where AI can be used. It can be used for essay brainstorming and outlining, right? Like I showed you, if you ask it questions, it can assist with the essay process in that way. And the second part is it can also help with project planning for mentorship. For example, when a student says like, hey, I want to go ahead and do, this X passion project, can you help give me some ideas of things I can do? Or, hey, I'm really looking for doing research in this. Can you help me? This is a topic I'm interested in. Can you build our outline? So we use ChatGPT a lot in our group mentorship to help build outlines, build structures in place. But where does it not work for students? And I think it's important to share this because I think some of us think that technology can replace everything. And I'm sorry to say this, but it just can't. It can't replace the human aspect. It can't replace heart. It can't replace emotion. It is a tool, it can be best utilized, but in general, it's not something that, we recommend to use for everything. So where can AI not really be used in the process? Specifically, soft skills training, really hard to teach students things like leadership, teach students about specifically, helping kids find their passion. I mean, that's something that's a conversation. You can create plans around it, but helping them to figure out what they might be interested in, that's not helpful. Finding the exact angle or strategy around things when it comes to projects they want to focus on, it doesn't help. You can keep asking it questions, but sometimes you get random answers. So this is where having a person or yourself can be really helpful. Where it can't be used in the college admissions process either is tailoring the college list. Keep in mind, you're going to be investing. Some of these colleges cost 60, 70, $80,000 a year when you add everything up. You want to be picking colleges that make sense for you. Building that school list towards the student's personal preferences from weather, class size of school, football team, no football team, fraternity, sorority. This is a curated experience that we do with our students, and it takes time. We also have a team of over 4,000 students that join our program can interview these students on campus and get the non-marketing version of what that school is like. AI can't give you that answer. It can't help you to build a unique angle. You can see in its writing, in this essay, it didn't really create a unique angle. It created a fluff essay. So being able to create the personality of a student or help to figure out what the glitter is on their application, not something AI can really do. And you have to keep in mind, there are phrases that AI will use that if 60,000 students are applying, you better believe at least 1,000 or 3,000 are using AI, and they're going to say the same sentences. So colleges are going to know. Essay writing, essay editing, activity list writing, and resume writing. All things AI cannot do. You will be auto-rejected from college if you're utilizing it too heavily. So I'm not trying to scare you. I'm trying to tell you where the boundaries are on where it can be used for the brainstorming and the outline process, but where you really want to stop the utilization at that point because you don't want to cross over into what we call the dark side. Let's talk about where college admissions, college shortcuts, AI can all work together. And I think it's so important to talk about. Oh, Uraj is asking, is this meeting about why we should not use AI to write our essays and only for brainstorming an essay? No, this meeting is discussing about AI overall in the essay process, talking about how the college essay process works specifically, and then also a little bit about what we can do to help students in terms of AI plus people. And then I'm also going to open it up to live Q&A for questions. So it's actually a lot more than just that aspect. That's just what I've been covering in detail because we had a lot of questions about that. All right, collaboration, accountability, and coaching. So to give you a sense, current technology and AI cannot replace the power of coaching parents and one-on-one relationships with students. So students really need to be inspired to find their passion, work with someone to continually grow those plans. So with us, for example, we have accountability. Our students meet every 2 weeks. They have a strategy in place. They know what they're going to execute on and what they want to do. In terms of collaboration, AI is a tool that we can use in a collaboration way, and that's kind of where we go from there. And then we build strategy with our students. One of the big things I recommend for you, if you haven't done this, is to do this with your student. If you haven't done it, make sure your child knows how to use AI in an effective way. For a lot of my students with 8th, 9th, 10th graders, for example, that haven't touched the college essays, a lot of them are doing summer applications for summer essays for competitive programs. So look into how you can use AI specifically and start to practice writing skills with them. I also recommend a big thing, which is creating timelines and plans with your students. Right now, it's the month of January. Everyone should be reviewing their college application strategy. If you've got an 11th grader, if you have an 8th, 9th, 10th grader specifically, I highly recommend looking into what did they do last year from an academic perspective? What does the strategy need to be for this semester to ensure good grades? That's the academic aspect. The second part is going to be the extracurricular strategy. What are the extracurriculars you're doing inside of school? And what are the outside capstone projects or research papers that you are working on to build your profile right now? And then the third aspect specifically is around summer planning. I know it sounds like far away, we're in the frigid cold, but right now, a lot of summer program priority deadlines are end of January. So a lot of our students in our group mentorship program already have submitted their applications for summer. So hopefully, Urish, that helps in terms of answering a few of the other things outside of the AI conversation as well. So in terms of the webinar, I wanted to at least go through these slides. And then the next thing I wanted to share with you specifically is around the college essays, because I think that was a big reason why a lot of you signed up. And then from there, I'm going to go ahead and share specifically let me get out of here. Specifically, I'm going to go ahead and share the supplemental document right now. So in terms of the essay process, one of the things most people don't realize is that the college admissions process, when it comes to essays, is the most daunting part of the process. And I think that's where most people get confused and concerned about how they're going to get through it. So I want to go ahead and share with you our supplemental essay guide. And I'm actually going to, let me actually take a minute and share with you the document. You guys can take a look at it as well on your screen. Let me go ahead and get that up for you. In the meantime, if you guys want to add your questions into the chat, you can send them directly to me. Again, this is a draft of the document, just to be clear. It's not a final draft, but I wanted to get it visually beautiful for you and not just a Google document. So here is that supplemental essay document so that you guys can see it. Let me go ahead and also share my screen. If you guys are on your phones, you can see it. So the supplemental essay guide, this is a guide that covers over 10 to 15 colleges that spans over 29 pages of supplemental essays of examples of top 20 schools. So I want to take in a little background. I went to both Rice and UPenn. I got my master's in educational entrepreneurship at Penn. I was a Wharton Innovation Fund graduate, as well as a Jacobs Fellow as well. And Penn actually requires a lot when it comes to their essay process. And so what I want to do is kind of walk you through some of these essays and why this matters so much. The essay process, for example, is what makes or breaks an application. And I want to go over the different buckets of admissions when it comes to looking at an applicant. First is academics, so grades, ranking, SAT, ACT score, all those hard data points. They do look at that information, and I know the SAT went digital, which we are coaching and tutoring a lot of students in that. And from an academics perspective, we also do tutoring as well, especially after last semester. Some students are needing some help with understanding some of their information when it comes to those subjects, math, science, English, history, and language. So that is one bucket that they look at, is the transcript and the numbers and everything. And I do find that it is something that a lot of parents tend to hyper obsessively focus on. And I'm not saying it's a bad thing. It's just that it is not the thing that gets you accepted. It's the thing that gets you in the review pile. So to assume that a valedictorian auto gets into every school is incorrect. Grades is one bucket. The second bucket that they look at is specifically the extracurriculars. Is the student someone who sits back and watches video games and is highly introverted? Or is this a student who is involved in their community? They make impact. They've been doing things either locally, nationally, or internationally. They've been involved in really cool summer programs. They have shadow experiences, internships, summer camps, blah, 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 right? So lots of cool things. And I'm not saying you stack that to the point where your kid is highly stressed out. It's about creating a curated strategy that makes them effective in what they want to do. I have students doing a lot of different projects. For example, I have some starting companies. I have students that are having to learn how to do their first ever sales pitch and get over their fear. That's a great skill to learn at 17. I have other students right now that are authoring a book. We're going through the design process and about to launch on Amazon. I have students working on many different projects. In terms of my group mentorship, I've got over 20 students working on research papers right now that they're going to be publishing online as well. So there's a lot of different things that we work with outside of school. And the reason why we do this is because, especially in certain backgrounds and profiles, we see students do a lot of the same activities. Sometimes we see, for example, many students are doing things like Hosa, Deka, Taekwondo, karate, Indian dance, classical singing, Bollywood dance, and their profiles all start to look the same. And I'm not saying that to be harsh or rude or mean. This is a webinar for me to tell you what I know and what I've seen over and over. But what really gets you in is the third bucket, which is the unique angle. Long gone are the days of, let me drop my kid into 5 different things that are not related and they're well-rounded. They're not looking for well-rounded. They're looking for a student with a very clear angle of what they want to do and why. And they're like, okay, this is my kid who's super into, political science and possibly Eastern philosophy and how that all ties together. Or this is my student who's really interested in AI and governance and how it affects the diversity. And the political science aspect here, or this is my student really interested in medicine, specifically in surgery, and he's really interested in XYZ. And they've shown through on the resume how it relates. Similar to if you look at a job, right? So if anyone has ever seen an adult's resume and they see like, oh, this person just jumped all over the place and quit a bunch of jobs and, wasn't really clear in their strategy on their resume, it's not, they're not going to get hired. So the same is going on in colleges. I love Uraj's comment. Thank you so much. You need the star factor that makes you special, basically. Correct. You need that it factor. And I think it's really hard sometimes to create that it factor with your kid. At least in my case, my mom and I were pretty much arch enemies when we were in high school, which is really where College Shortcuts was born. It was realizing that there was a lot of tension in my house. My mom did not go to college here. She went to college in India, and I had a big chip on my shoulder that I knew the process better than she did. And, she was trying to lead me, but really didn't know what she was doing. And so we were fighting all the time. And then she put me in a top private school. But even my counselor, it was really hard to work with her. And she didn't have the time to read through every single essay. And I just realized that even though I was a top student and, all of this, I had to figure out a better way. And that's really where College Shortcuts was born, was around really understanding what does it take to create that glitter on a profile? How do you create that personal brand? What is it that makes your child who they are? And as I've seen over thousands of assessments that my team does, when we ask that question of a student and we're like, okay, you really want to go to Stanford? Great. And you want to go into business? Awesome. Assume I'm the admissions officer at the business school at Stanford, or the business classes, or the admissions officer. Tell me, out of 60,000 applications, why should I take you? That's what these essays are asking. And when you get that interview from an alumni or a possible interview in the office from any of the colleges that you're applying to, they expect you to have that down to about a minute and a half. Not let me look at my mom. Mom, can you answer this maybe? No, mom's not applying to college. So it's so important for us to understand the essays is the written version to assist students in getting to that point. For example, you'll see Stanford's essay. The Stanford community is deeply curious, driven to learn in and outside of the classroom. Reflect on an idea or experience that makes you genuinely excited about learning. That is a very introspective, intelligent level question. Then they're like, okay, let's get to know your personality. Write a note to your future roommate that reveals something about you or that will help your roommate and us get to know you better. This is all personality. And you want to make sure that you understand where the level is. Sometimes I have students referring to TV shows that they should not be referring to on their applications. Or they go a little far on some of these essays. They're like, oh, I'm trying to be funny. I'm like, no, that's going to get you rejected. So there's a lot of these types of things we look at, and we work with students on every single prompt one by one, looking at it, outlining it, figuring out based on who they are, their life stories, their challenges, their traumas, their experience, all of it. And then we figure out based on all that, plus the resume, from an outside admissions perspective, okay, what is it that's going to make Shilpi amazing, right? Like, what is it about her story? And, it could be something as random as a student's love for gardening and how they did gardening and they learned so much during the pandemic around gardening and biology and cells and cross-pollination. And that's why they want to go to medicine. That's a completely off, weird topic essay that you may not have thought of, but there's a way to tie and weave different things to create this beautiful story. Type in the curious, type in the chat if you have ever watched a movie or a Bollywood movie. Type in yes. Yes. Okay, great. Maybe you guys don't know this, but Shah Rukh Khan's my favorite. If anyone's into Indian movies, Shah Rukh Khan is one of the most awesomest. It's not a word, but I get all giggly when I think about him. Okay, so Shah Rukh Khan, for example, is in a movie, many movies. And let me tell you the movie nobody watches. Shah Rukh Khan, super rich guy, sitting on his couch, 80 pounds overweight, eating popcorn, watching Netflix. Hour 1 of the movie. Intermission, hour 2. Shah Rukh Khan is still sitting there, eating popcorn, watching Netflix. The end. Not interesting, guys. Not interesting. So, what is interesting when it comes to the essay process? It's something that we like to call, and it's a format we talk a lot in creative writing. It's called the hero's journey, right? So, student goes through something challenging, meets something that makes a challenge, makes it difficult, something hard, and then all of a sudden they have a growth moment, right? That's the part of the movie. And then boom, they have this experience, they accomplish all these amazing things, the end of the movie, right? For example, there's a movie with Shah Rukh Khan where, if anyone's heard the storyline, where the dad did not accept him to marry his daughter. And then they end up in this big fighting scene. And Shah Rukh Khan is all bloody and he does look like, oh, and he's got blood all over his face. And you're like, Shah Rukh Khan, don't die, marry her, marry her. And then at the end, the dad all of a sudden gets softened by the mom. And then the dad comes over. He's the one that's like all scary and stone faced. And he's like, okay, we love you, Shah Rukh Khan. Right? Yeah, look at that. So the nose, DDLJ. Yep. Thank you. Hello. We got my fun community here. It knows all my jam. Sometimes I worry I'm like, I'm referring to really old movies. But anyway, so it's a really good movie. Everyone knows Diwali Dulhania Le Jayenge if you are South Asian. It is an incredible movie. It shows this amazing experience that happens to this person, and you are just rooting for this hero. So think about your child as a Bollywood hero in their story. And how do we take them from where they are to where they go? Now, I know a lot of parents sometimes say, Neha, you know what? I moved here so that my kids have no challenges and so that they have a really easier life than I did. And so honestly, my kid hasn't gone through anything that hard. Nothing hard like I did, moving here with nothing and knowing nobody, and then coming here to hope they have a better education. Okay, I'm the one that should write the college essay. I get it. I get it. I get that sometimes from parents. But there are things your child has been through. Maybe it's a challenge of attending something that's not easy. Maybe it's, and it doesn't always have to be a challenge story. It can be also like, hey, I was super nervous about writing a 20-page research paper, as many of my students are in my group mentorship program, and they've already found their 20 sources and they're already starting to work on their intro and their paragraphs and things like that. But they're nervous about starting a project. And a lot of times they don't do it because they're scared. But, they can write a whole essay about the experience of what it was like to open their eyes to understanding the research on, maybe, I love how I'm blanking this moment, but whatever research topic it is that they have, and how they absolutely enjoyed it so much. And they learned so much about machine learning and algorithms or whatever it is that they write the paper on. And then they can talk about like, yeah, and from there, I built on this and I built on this and I did this. And here's what I want to do in college. And here's why I'm different. So you'll see it's about looking at, and I know when a kid is a teenager, it's hard to think of them as like the hero of their own story, and I know it's tension sometimes, not for everybody. I think some families don't have it. In my house, we did. We had a lot of tension. And so my goal with my mentorship program is to take that off your plate as a parent. The college application process, take that off your plate of having to spend, I don't know, 50 hours trying to build a school list, which takes us not that long with a student, trying to cut down a lot of these times and shortcut the process for you so that you're not having to, sometimes with students, it can feel like you're pulling them through the process. Like, where are you with your extracurriculars? Where are you with this paper? What have you done about this thing yet? Have you figured out what you're doing? Where are you with your After a while, they don't hear you. I stopped hearing my mom, and I was a top student, highly involved, and she still was tough on me. And I think it was just the way she was raised. She just knew that, she doesn't know how to compliment. To this day, she's in her 60s. And I have to still correct her sometimes, be like, look, if you have nothing nice to say, you can go right now. I don't want to hear it. Anyone have a mom like this? Type in yes. Even as adults, I know you guys know what I'm talking about. You already are so hard on yourself as a person. So to me, it's about, when you've got these teenagers, they're also sensitive. They're also growing. Their prefrontal cortex is still figuring out. They're still trying to figure out who they are. And so having that outside help that can figure out what that storyline is. If you think about a movie, Shah Rukh Khan's not the only one making DDLJ, right? His parents aren't writing DDLJ. There are people around him, teams, writers, producers that create and curate the moments and the emotions and how to create that movie. And that's really kind of where we come in when it comes to the student's process. Now, I want to keep it open to questions and things like that. I know I've gone through the academics part of the bucket. I've talked about extracurriculars as a second. I've talked about the unique angle as a third. And then the fourth is the essay process, which I've now touched on. I don't have to touch on it further. That's the last part of the application. And so when you look at these four, these are the parts that either get you in or throw you out the door. It's one or the other when it comes to the application process. The last part is the not always there, but sometimes there interview that you get. Right now, we've got students that are getting interviews at Princeton, Penn, Yale, all the top schools. Right now, we're doing a lot of interview prep for students, so we're super pumped about that. Always great when they're like, hey, we liked your application, we want to interview you. So we talk about, what do you wear? How do you look? How do you prepare your hair? Some of my boys need a haircut. I've noticed in my class, I'm like, why is your hair going like bing? It's so funny. But these are little things that we don't think about, or we have a hard time communicating with the children on how to present well and look a certain way, feel a certain way, match a brand. These are soft skills and they're hard to learn, especially for students at a big public school where, they don't really talk about these things. So these are all the little things that we're working on with students through our mentorship and our application program. So I hope that helps to give you an overall arching view of how that all looks in terms of, the different buckets of applications. And then also to give you guys some tips and tricks around specifically the essay writing process, as well as how to use AI in your own home on your own, if it's something you want to take on with your student. My recommendation whenever you're working with kids is make sure you have accountability and you have structures in place, because the thing about it that I hear more often than not, and I can attest to this because I was on an assessment earlier today, a family who's been following me for over 2 years calls 2 years later to be like, hey, okay, we're thinking about mentorship again. And we're just kind of at a point where we're like, look, either you want to do it or you don't. Like, we had a call this morning, I have to say, that was super awesome. This mom and their child was on the call. They listened, they signed up. They were on the group mentorship call this evening. To me, that family, boom, kid's already working on her summer plans with us. She's already figuring out what academic classes. She's sending me her schedule. We're going to take a look. That's a family that I'm like, thank you. Yes, let's make it happen. So I really love it when I see families kind of get to that level of, you know what, we need outside help. I don't want to have to push and nag and force my teenager to do these types of things. I'd rather have someone or a team that makes it easier. So what I want to do is I want to open up the chat for any questions. And for everybody on the line, I actually have Jeff here, who's on. And his calendar, which is getting fully booked, he just got 25 calls in the last 5 days. But we do still have some times open. He just opened up his calendar to be a little later in the evening as well. So I've put the link in if you guys would like to chat with him to hear more and learn more about what we do, if you're interested. And really be able to learn a little bit as well about the process as well. And yes, Rich just said, wow, Mr. Newman, you're one busy man. Yes, I've been keeping Jeff pretty busy. You'll see in the calendar, there's not as many slots left for the next few weeks. All right, let's take a look. Kim says, hi, my daughter's interested in both healthcare and law. And you know what, Kim, I'll pause on this for a second. Yeah, Jeff, if you could just take a minute, unmute yourself on video and put yourself on video, just say a quick hello, introduce yourself so they know who they're speaking with. Jeff's been with me for over 5 years. He's incredible. He has 2 kids, and Jeff, you can share where they're at if you'd like, but top 20 colleges, and is very well versed in the process. So Jeff, I'll let you take it from here.
Hey everybody, I hope you can hopefully see me. All I have is Neha on my screen, so hopefully I'm actually showing up on the screen here as well. I've been with Neha for 5 years, and I tell it to people on the calls every time I chat with people, you're never going to find a more authentic, caring person than Neha. I don't know of another company in the country where the founder, the CEO, the person who has this direct data and results is the person working directly with your kids. There's no middleman in between it. It's you and Neha. And to me, that is absolutely amazing. I'm a dad. I've got 2 kids. My daughter just graduated from UNC, which is a top 25 school. My son just graduated from Duke University. I think they're ranked 6th or 7th. So as a parent, I know what the kids are going through. I know the stress level. I've been there a little bit a little bit ahead of you. I know what it feels like to spend hundreds of thousands of dollars on tuition, to spend $20,000 on my daughter's sorority, and still have my kids complain that I need a new dishwasher when they come home for the holidays. So one thing about this company is we keep it authentic, we keep it real, we keep it transparent, because that is the entire application, is that authenticity. So I'm here, I'm available, I'm happy to chat regardless, be a resource for you. Don't be shy. I just opened up my calendar for the evenings, literally until 9 or 10 at night at Neha's request, something I normally don't do. But when we do these calls, we are as committed to you as we can be. And I can't say more than that. And it's a privilege to be here this evening. Thank you, Neha.
Thank you, Jeff, so much. So sweet of you. And yeah, it's very true. You know, to me, it's really about being fully transparent. You know, and with college shortcuts, like we've experienced, you know, we've been at it for so long. And I'll say one of the big things for me in the last 2 years has been, you know, I love working with students personally. And so that's why I launched my group mentorship program, because it juices me. After every call, I'm like, oh my God, let's keep doing cool things. Like just tonight, we were talking about a new project, launching possibly a group national podcast together that's going to help them build their leadership, build their resume. We looked into a partnership I have with a research institute to see if they want to apply for fellowships to get that as well on their resume. I've emailed them twice about internship opportunities. So my mentorship program, I just pour and pour on my students, because I just want to make sure that they have the best opportunities possible. And then on the application side, I mean, we go through line by line every single essay. For our 11th graders, we're starting right now. So if you have an 11th grader, do not wait. We have limited spots and limited number of consultants this year. I really am at a point where I want lesser families and more touch in terms of our team and ability to get the work done. We're at a point now where we're also allowing unlimited editing. So that means there's only so many families we can work with. So there's a lot that we're doing in terms of our work product and working with families. Let me take a look here. So Kim's question says, hi, my daughter's interested in both, and please ask questions now. My daughter's interested in both healthcare and law. We're happy to have you help with the team. How do you choose an internship when someone is undecided? So this is a phenomenal question from Kim. I think one of the big things is, it is so easy to say, I don't know. As an adult, you could say, oh, I don't know. You know, I don't know what I want to do. And there's a time and point where I don't know doesn't work, right? Like you have to figure out what that is. What do you want to do? What do you want to test? What are you interested in? And so from my perspective, and Kim, my advice to you is test one, test the second. And so we actually do that with our students. We're like, okay, let's test one or the other. Now, in your case, healthcare and law can both overlap in its own way. And we could actually build an entire research project together around healthcare and law. I mean, there's huge things about, for example, my husband who works in pharmaceutical data and Medicare data, right? There's so much around law governance, pharmaceutical, like drug transparency acts. I mean, so Kim, honestly, that is something where students could actually have an interest on both. And we are seeing that the future is typically an interdisciplinary approach in a lot of ways. And students are interested in one or two ways. So we actually customize and figure out what it is that students might be interested in and find ways to combine things as well. So in this case, I do think that could be a possibility to look at those overlaps together. Shreyas asked a question. It said, more information on summer programs. When is the right time to sign up for college application help and essay writing? Great question. So in terms of summer programs, so right now my group mentorship program is working on all their summer applications. To give you a sense, some of the top colleges out there that offer summer programs, they actually have mini applications that are similar to college. They ask questions like, for example, the Global Youth Leadership at UPenn, very good friends with the people that run that. Their questions are, if you want to apply to the finance program under Wharton, it's please write a 500-word essay about a couple and the 3 types of stocks you would recommend to them and what your strategy is, as if you are a private wealth manager. That's an essay for a 9th through 11th grader. Oh boy. So students have to actually work through and figure out what that is. Then there's another question like, give a tweet about yourself. And we had one student write like, get outside your comfort zone, hashtag uncomfortable. And I was like, that says nothing about you. I don't know who that was written by. It could be written by anybody. So we had to like work with them for, almost an hour on how to write a tweet. So things like that, right? So the summer programs, most of them opened end of December. So all of our group mentorship students, we actually have a curated list based on the resumes we've seen get into top schools, that we've built in our group mentorship program documents that we share immediately once families sign up to get access and start applying to those programs. In terms of when to sign up for essay process, again, that is 11th grade. Now, we do edit summer program essays if needed at a fee for that, but mostly for my 11th grade families. Can you type in 11 if you have an 11th grader, or if everyone can type in what grade their child is in, that would be amazing. Super helpful for me to know who is in what grade specifically. That would be awesome. If you can do that, that would be great. Let me take a look here. Awesome. Okay, let's take a look here. So we've got 10, 11, 11, 10, 11, 8, 8, 11, 11, 10, 11. Okay, so a lot of 11th graders. So to the question around the essay process specifically, we would recommend starting now in terms of, and let me explain why. When you look at the college admissions process, you have to build the school list, you have to type out your, or you're not the only 10th grader. There's some people private messaging me in terms, there's a good mix of students on here and parents. Don't worry, you're not alone. Obviously you're not alone, you can see everybody in this room. But in terms of the process, we start in January around building and curating your college list. That takes time to do. In terms of the next thing we work on is the activity list and the resume, making sure that's formatted, put together, really showcasing who you are. And then March through September is when we work on the essay part. But we need you to start visiting schools during spring break. We need you to start figuring out like what you're interested in, why you're interested in it, so that when we start working on essays starting March, and I know that sounds early, but most essay prompts are out. We know the supplementals at College Shortcuts already. March, April, May, June, July. August 1st is when applications open. So 5 times 4 is 20 weeks to typically write a 40-page document of essays and responses. So it's a lot of work. And in terms of working on that, making sure it's perfected and then getting edited. So for my families like Rahul, Venkat, Shiv, Rajan, 11th grade parents and students, Nitu, Rajaram, Devansh, I know we're already talking, Shweta's 10th grade. These are all, going to be a bit more of a challenge to start later versus earlier. We did work with one family this last year where the parent out of Michigan had hired 2 other companies, starting early with them. And then I get a call, sometimes this happens, we get a call in October or September where they hired us to work on the same package they've already paid twice. We end up rushing, we do get it all done, but then they keep like wanting us to just like, it's just a lot of stress, October, November, December, trying to get everything together. In this case, the parent unfortunately invested in like larger agencies that didn't get anything done, but half of the, I think they got half of a Common App essay done, and that was it, and like a resume, and none of the supplementals for the 15 schools. So we ended up having to kind of take it to the next level and squish it all in. This year, we don't really want to do that with students. We're not going to look at taking on later students. We also charge a lot for rush fees because it's a lot of work. So it's just a lot to do. And then one of the things I want to do tonight, unexpectedly, actually, surprise, I actually have one of the students that I work on who has worked with us in terms of mentorship and helping to build their profile. And I'd love to have my student share a little bit about their experience with us. I wasn't expecting my student to be on, but it's always nice to see a student that's on. So Dee, if you can turn on video, if that's possible. If not, it's okay. But if you can unmute and share a little bit about, your experience in ninth grade, what was on your resume when we first talked, and then, a little bit about what you've done since then. Give a little bit of a information about yourself, if that's all right. And also what
Um,
the US you're in.
sorry, what I'm in?
Oh, yeah, to share a little bit about when you started with us and what your extracurricular profile was like, and then, what it's been like doing mentorship together and where you're from.
All right. I'm so sorry about my video. It looks like the camera's not working.
No
But
worries.
I'm Devanch. I'm a junior now, and I'm from San Francisco, the Bay Area. So when I first started working with Neha, I had very few extracurriculars. I didn't have a great idea of what I wanted to do, and I think Neha really helped me figure those things out. And she helped me start on clubs. She helped me do extracurriculars. She helped me get started on my research. And now together we're looking into college lists and sort of essays, and she's helping me figure out where I want to apply and which factors matter to me. And it's been a great help. I would say almost everything on my resume has come after I joined mentorship, and yeah, it's been amazing. I'm really grateful for all the help, Neha. Thank you.
Awesome. Oh my gosh, I'm so glad to hear that from you, because I know that, one of the things when we first started, I was like, look, if you keep going with these 3 or 4 extracurriculars, this isn't going to work. And I'm so glad. I have to say also, Devansh has been a student who he walks the walk and talks the talk. When he does the work, he does the work. He shows up, he finishes things. He's an author of a book. He's written research. He's gone to Stanford summer classes. He does it. He shows up and he makes it happen. And I mean, I think at first you were a little hesitant. You weren't sure. You were like, "Ooh, I don't know." But now, you've really blossomed in the last 2 years, and you did great on your test scores, and we're just set up for success. So I'm so glad, and thank you for sharing, because I know a lot of times, if you're new to College Shortcuts or Neha, type in yes in the chat, just because I don't know who's new or who's been on my email list or found me through social or how you found me. Just share in the chat. I'm just curious if you're new to me. But I've always loved when I see a student on that can share what they've experienced. I want to be mindful of time. And I know everyone, it's their evening. And so I think I'm going to close with Devansh's beautiful comments about his experience with us. I think there's nothing better than hearing it directly from a student themselves. And you also heard from Jeff. So I'll put in the chat, if you guys are interested in learning more about us, and how we can help reduce your stress, make the process easier, and increase your probability of admissions. I'm putting the link here where you can schedule a call with Jeff. It is a free assessment that we're offering for free right now over the next few weeks. It's collegeshortcuts.com/apply, and hope to see you guys there. Love each and every one of you, even if it's the first time I'm meeting you. Just want to send you lots of love and light. It's amazing to be here. And don't worry, Uraj, it's not poor Jeff. He gets so much joy out of talking with families. Also a big meditator, loves my culture, loves just the beautiful Eastern philosophies. So he loves connecting with all of our amazing families. If you're also new, I know Rajaram mentioned new, Rithika also mentioned you're new. Feel free to go to College Shortcuts and look at our testimonials and our press, learn a little bit more about us. Take your time reading about us a little bit on our website and get a sense of what we do and how we impact students. My goal is to impact the next generation that's coming up, helping them to become the best versions of themselves and helping parents to create the most beautiful legacy that they can. So grateful to each and every one of you. Urj, I did, oh, you want to do some more Q&A? Okay, so for everyone that feels complete, you can head out, or if you have questions, feel free to stay on a little longer. I can go ahead and share any answers for any questions you guys have. You're welcome, Rajan. Thank you so much for joining. Awesome to see you on. If we have any Q&A, I'll wait for the next 2-3 minutes. Feel free to share if you have any questions. All right. And let's take a look here. So I got a question here. Let me take a look. How How many colleges should my student apply for? That's a question I just got. Great question. So a lot of students, at this time, I will tell you, just based on the way admissions is changing, we are seeing typically students are applying to 15 to 18 schools, sometimes 20. 20 is the max you can do on the Common App process. You can also apply to some schools directly, of course, so you can actually bump that to 25 or 26. But typically a minimum of 15 schools. And the way we break that down is typically, 6 reach schools, 6 target schools, and 3 safety. Reach schools are any school that has a 20% or less acceptance rate. Target is 20 to 45% acceptance rate, and 45 and up acceptance rate is a safety. So we typically like to see a well-balanced list as we go forward. Urij, I think you are definitely a 10th grader from what I can tell. So you said as a 10th grader to get that star factor, what can I do right now? You mentioned publishing a book, research paper, possibly a TEDx talk. So Urij, that's a lot of things all at once. I don't recommend all of them at once. What I would say is, Rajan said, Neha and team helped my daughter in a very short time. Hats off. Thanks a lot. Rajan, feel free to unmute yourself and share. I would love to hear from you actually. That would be awesome. But Urij, I would say that, in 1 second, Rajan, let me finish with Urij. I would say the big thing, no matter what, is definitely get research under your belt. That one is one of the biggest ones we're seeing affect admissions a lot. And if you want to learn more, have your parents and you schedule a call with Jeff, to learn more about a group mentorship together. But yeah, Rajan, feel free to, share real quick. I'd love to hear from you real fast. I don't know if you're still on.
Yeah, I am.
Hi.
Thank you, Neha. We lined up last minute, really last minute. Probably I will say in a lesser time. And thank you, Jeff, for taking the call. And Neha lined up us in no time, and the team helped us to at least we did a homework of college list and all, but they reviewed us and guided like anything. And the essays prep was short time due for colleges like A&M Texas, UT Austin, and University of Wisconsin and stuff. But they work with us whether it's a day, night. Probably majority of her team will be short span of less than 3 hours what they need, and the response will be super quick on the weekends, on the weekday, or night or day. Thank you, Neha. Thanks a lot. We are counting the A&M and UT Austin results will be published soon. A couple of the places where we applied on the list, we already lined up. So we are waiting for those 2 schools on top. Thank you so much. And of course, I will recommend that a high recommendation, and my son will be joining Neha's team as well. Thank you, Neha. Thanks a lot.
Of course. No, thank you so much. And it's so true. We work 7 days a week. It's, to me, it's, when you're, my mom always said, to raise a child, it takes a village. And that's kind of how we look at things specifically, is really, and I kind of think of myself as like the fun mosi or aunt, for a lot of students. So, yes, we work nonstop to make sure it's, taken care of. All right, just a few more questions here. Priya, Neha, what unique extracurricular do you recommend for 9th graders? So Priya, I'd have to get to know the 9th grader, and usually that's where mentorship comes in. So I would definitely schedule a call. And typically we start as early as 8th grade. So just a heads up in terms of that. Shiv's question on, does the SAT matter? Yes, it does. A lot of colleges, Yale just recently in a podcast shared that if you aren't submitting your scores, we already assume it's low. So yes, and it is going digital specifically. So they do look at, and it does matter. Priya's asking, do school districts matter, STEM versus non-STEM? Colleges do know certain schools and their backgrounds and the types of students that come from it, the type of demographic of students and all of that. So we do talk a lot about that in the college process to make sure that, if your student is at certain schools, to make sure that, we're listing it on the resume, we're talking about it in different ways. So there's a lot of ways to do that. All right, so I know we're over by about 2 to 3 minutes, so I'm going to go ahead and call it. Rajan, thank you so much for your kind words. It means so much to me to hear from a parent as well.
No, it's bottom of my heart, Neha. Thanks a lot. It wouldn't be possible without you. I'll be very honest. The SAT score matter, those prep are different. Essay, as she nailed on. I'm working in the IT as a director, and I can do, as she was pointing out, I'm so much techie. I can do the stuff, but essay writing on the proper prompting of the words, less than 150, 200, you need to go through the experience to get it. I'll be very honest, and college shortcuts, I recommend 1000%, not 100, 1000. Thank you, Neha.
Thank you. And with that, I'm going to go ahead and end. Love you guys. Bye, everybody.